Welcome to this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on culture and identity, focusing on disability and identity. The term disability is often rejected by sociologists as it is a label that is imposed upon individuals that have an impairment that differentiates them from others in society, and this label can become a master status that overrides other aspects of the individual's personality based upon stereotypical ideas of the limitations that having a physical or mental disability has attached to it. Shakespeare argues that a more equitable term for disability is impairment, and that individuals with impairments are less likely to be categorised as in need of assistance than those labelled as disabled. As early as the 1960s, Irving Goffman suggested that the use of disability as a label could lead to individuals categorised as such being perceived to have a stigmatised identity, one that others class as being a result of misfortune and alters the perceptions of individuals. In this video, we're going to examine the ways in which individuals with impairments, either physical or mental, are viewed in society and how this impacts on their identity formation. The concept of ableism is linked to the idea that there are assumptions based upon how physical or mental impairments can impact on an individual's ability to perform day-to-day tasks. This view is often presented through different perspectives of how individuals with impairments are viewed by society. Shepper, Hughes and Locke argue that in today's medicalised and health-conscious society, impairment is often perceived as being caused by a deficiency in an individual's lifestyle, and that impairments are due to their own diet, exercise, drinking and smoking habits. The alternative view put forward by Shakespeare is that those with impairments are often viewed with pity, and that media portrayals of people with disability are not empowering, but instead sympathetic and pitiful, showing those with impairments as being in need of help from wider society. This can be evidenced through other research into media portrayal of impairments. Barnes suggests that the media typically categorise those with impairments in a negative way, and suggested a series of categories that represented the ways in which people with impairments are represented in fictional media. From negative perceptions such as villains with psychological impairments or physical deformities, to more pitiful characters with limited or abnormal sex drives and a burden to able-bodied characters. Barnes found few positive depictions of impairments in the media. In a more recent study, Williams-Finley found that while newspaper reporting of impairments was less likely to use outdated and offensive terminology to describe those with impairments, the focus of media coverage was still largely on the tragic elements of impairments, the struggles that individuals face to lead their day-to-day lives, rather than the triumphs of being integrated into contemporary society. One of the explanations for the different treatment of those with impairments comes down to conflicting models of health in society. The biomedical model focuses largely on impairment as a deficiency, an inability to live the same life as an able-bodied person, and that this leads to exclusion from certain activities. This impacts on the formation of an individual's identity and can lead to learned helplessness, according to Scott. In contrast, the social model of health looks at the structural factors that create barriers for those with impairments, looking for social solutions to problems. For example, creating easily accessible entrances in shops, providing hearing loops in venues, and providing audio descriptions for those with sight impairments. Whilst the social model of health looks for solutions, the biomedical model has a tendency to socially exclude those with impairments, suggesting that impairment means an inability to lead a life that an able-bodied person would be able to do. Of course, as with other forms of identity, impairments are often met with intersections of class, gender, ethnicity and age, and so individuals can be faced with multiple factors impacting on their identity formation. As we've outlined in previous videos, the elderly are more susceptible to impairment, and this reduces old age to a stigmatised identity for some. There are also cultural differences in attitudes towards impairment. More progressive nations have adopted practices that are more inclusive, whilst more traditional societies may view impairment in a negative way, rejecting those unable to work, or failing to recognise issues such as mental ill health in society. Finally, ethnicity and gender both intersect with impairment. Women are more likely than males to be treated for psychological impairments, in part due to males being reluctant to receive diagnoses of mental health impairment, whilst Black Caribbeans are more likely to be diagnosed with psychological impairments than white British people, which leads to them facing the stigma of mental impairment and the impacts of racism in society. That concludes this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on culture and identity, looking at disability and identity. Thanks for watching.